All right, and last but certainly not least is Geoff Bullock. Geoff is a financial education specialist at Firefly Credit Union in Burnsville, Minnesota. Geoff will be presenting his Bridging the Gap project. And his project is about creating an adoption loan model to assist potential adoptive families that is replicable for credit unions in every community. Geoff Bullock.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Well, thank you to Tim and to Currency. Thank you to CUES, and thank you to DDJ Myers. DD Myers is an awesome coach. It's been a gift to be coached by her so far. And I want to thank my crew from Firefly who are here, yes, and those watching online. We have an incredible team led by our CEO, Bill Raker, who's championed this idea, and I want to thank you for your help. I also want to thank Marty Kelly for his mentorship and help. And I have a very special guest here today. So when I was writing this and coming up writing our blogs and putting things together, my wife, my beautiful wife, was having all kinds of health concerns, and I was actually writing these things from her hospital room and in a cardiac care unit. And this was a source. It's something we're both passionate about. And so this was a source of inspiration and hope for us. And when I got the call to say I was in the final 5, I was ecstatic, and I called her right away. And she said, I'm going to Vegas with you. And my wife is here, against all odds, made it here. So if you could give her a hand, made the trek. So happy you're here. So I want to talk about adoption and a product I have that I think could be revolutionary around adoption. But I want to take an informal poll to get started. I want to ask you a question. Will you, if you have ever adopted, raise your hand if you've ever adopted a child. Some hands are up. Okay, what about if you, a family member, keep your hands up, will you, for a moment. What if a family member or a friend you know is adopted or has adopted? Oh my goodness. Almost, look around. Almost every hand in this room is up. Incredible. You know, about over 60% of Americans come into direct contact, their family comes into direct contact with adoption, but it's a topic we don't talk a lot about. And it needs to be talked about, and there are some real reasons why. You know, this really cool looking guy here, my beard mentor, Charles Loring Brace, he's killing it with the beard. 1850, there are 30,000 orphans in the streets of New York City. And Charles Loring Brace gets together with 29 of his friends and says, we have to do something about this. Enough is enough. These are business people. This isn't the Red Cross, the United Way. These are business people saying, we have to do something about the orphan crisis. There shouldn't be 30,000 kids in New York City without homes. And if you see the bottom right-hand corner, they started the New York Foundling Hospital, where they would house children, and eventually in the upper right-hand corner, it's an incredible picture of children that are going to go on what was called an orphan train. I don't know if anyone's heard of the orphan train, but they go on trains to go be united with families around the United States. In St. Paul, Minnesota, near where we are based, the Union Depot took in tens of thousands of these children. To this day, they still have orphan train reunions with orphan train riders, and there's about 3 million descendants of orphan train riders in the United States today. It revolutionized adoption, and it was the founding, the base, which our foster care system is built off of. Now, if 30,000 is a crisis, I want to show you these statistics, and this will be striking to you, I hope, as they were to me. There are over 100,000 children today in America that are orphaned waiting homes. Over 100,000. That's bigger than the population of Duluth, Minnesota, of Scranton, Pennsylvania, of Kenosha, Wisconsin, of South Bend, Indiana. These are kids that are waiting for a home here in the United States. But then if you look globally, around the globe, about 1 in 14 children are known to be orphans, according to UNICEF, but 26 million children are double orphaned, meaning that not only do they not have parents, they don't have family members or others to care for them. They're in group homes, they're in orphanages, they're in other places. That's larger than the population of Australia. Is that striking? So I want to talk about 3 things. First, I want to talk about the importance, the historical importance of adoption. The second thing I want to talk about is the crisis that we're facing today. And the third thing I want to talk about is how all of us in this room can change things for the good. And everyone watching online too, you're invited to be a part of this as well. Because I think that we have a role to play in this. What is the number one reason that adoptions don't happen? Go to your local adoption agency in whatever city you're from, and they'll tell you the number one reason that adoptions don't happen is because of lack of upfront financing for adoption. Adoptions are expensive. They can range over $40,000, and they price people out. 4 out of 5 families that are interested in adopting drop out due to costs. This isn't me saying that. This is collaborations that we have with adoption agency telling us this. And so when we brought this idea to them, they were absolutely ecstatic about it. So I didn't tell you, well, let me not do the big reveal yet. I'm not doing this to depress you. Okay, I don't want you to be sad and go moping and be like, what a terrible situation. And I see some people guarding their wallets. Mr. Brock, I see, has been holding his checkbook because he's waiting. You've been to enough of these banquets to know what's about to happen. And I'm going to ask you to write a big whopping check to support this cause that's going. I'm not even going to do that today, so you can let the checkbooks go. I'm not going to even come for them. This is not about you giving money. As a matter of fact, I believe that this adoption loan product that I'm proposing will actually help to grow your credit union. I believe that it'll increase membership. I believe it'll increase the number of loans and the amount of loans you're making. I believe even that you'll make a profit off of this product. There's nothing like it. And I want to give you just a quick look at it. This is a line of credit. So this isn't some other kind of fixed rate loan where you're taking $40,000 up front that you might not even use that's accruing interest right away. This is a line of credit that you can pull from. This interest rate, 5.99 to 7.99. I didn't just make this up. I've put a lot of research into modeling this thing to figure out how to make it profitable. And even at 5.99%, there's still money to be made. A maximum repayment of 7 years. This would range in loan disbursements from $5,000 to $40,000, and it would cover up to 90% of the costs associated with adoption. One of the pieces of feedback we got from adoption agencies was people should be invested at the beginning. Don't fund all of it. Make sure that there's some money that they're putting into this. So we're going to finance up to 90% of the costs. Here's another amazing part of it. We're actually going to give the kids a welcome child savings account deposit of $500. We're going to give them a gift at the end of the loan. Because we don't want them to just get adopted and find a home. We want to get them started saving. We want to get them to be financially wise. We want them to be a part of this movement. The credit union is unique. The credit union movement is special. People helping people. And this embodies that. And this gift, I hope, embodies that as well. We control disbursements. We would actually make direct payments to the different adoption agencies and to the other places that are financing it, and then working in partnership with adoption agencies. We already have a unique and strategic partnership with our local adoption agencies, and adoption agencies are hungry for this. They're hungry for this. From the NTCU page, you can go read it. There are people that have reached out and said, how can we get our hands on this loan? From adoption agencies, from adoption network support groups, saying, how can we help make this happen? I told them to vote, just like I'm going to tell you to vote. But this is a movement that people want to get on board with. And I want to close with this. My wife and I adopted 2 beautiful girls. And it's been the richest experience, the greatest joy of our life. And I think back to our second daughter. We had her, and we were told that we were going to have to pay $35,000 to cover the costs of the adoption and the fees around it. And I remember the feeling in the pit of my stomach from that. And the fear that we had, and we ended up selling our home and coming up with this elaborate plan, and it worked out, and we have her, and she's beautiful and amazing, and has blessed our life. But I'm not alone. There are millions of people that are looking to adopt. There's a 25-year-old teller that just found out that she can't have kids and wants to adopt, but she can't because it costs $40,000 and she doesn't have that money up front. There's a 30-year-old marketing specialist that found out that they're not able to have children and they want to adopt, but they can't because this is only for the wealthy. As a matter of fact, we found that the average household income of adoptive families in the state of Minnesota was $185,000 a year. What about the rest of us? What about those that don't have $40,000 sitting around to pay for it? At the same time, when 20,000 children every year are phasing out of foster care and will never know what it feels like to have a home, never know what it feels like to have a family that they're connected to, that they love. I don't know about you, but I feel like this is a Charles Loring Brace moment where we can stand up together as a movement and say enough is enough. We're not going to stand by idly as this crisis rages on when we have the resources, when we have the structure, and we have the mission to achieve this. Thank you for your time.
We've got time for one question. Let's go to David.
You should pass the plate.
Well, in that case.
Let me ask you this. You've thought this through, obviously, a lot in a great presentation.
Thank you.
What could possibly go wrong with this program? How could it somehow boomerang and maybe hurt the credit union?
Well, as you've heard, this is something that there's a real heartstring issue. And so from the very beginning, I brought this to a colleague of mine on the lending side, and he said, I don't want to deal with it because I don't even have research on it. And he called me annoyingly persistent, which I'm going to go with. I want that to be my Facebook status. I'm annoyingly persistent. I'll go with that all day long. And I kept going back and came up with models to show that this can work and this will work. As a matter of fact, these families are dependable families. These are not people that are just going to adopt a kid and then be like, oh, forget about that loan. These are people that have been well vetted. They've gone through home studies. Their income's been verified by different sources. They've met certain guidelines. They've had psychological testing. I mean, far beyond anything we could do in underwriting has been done. So I believe that this is a Loctite idea. And I think that this could revolutionize the adoption industry as we know it.
Geoff Bullock.
Thank you.
Nice job.